Hey, this is BJ. No hat included. Look at another, I keep saying proof text, out of context verse. Out of context verse. Okay. I'm going to say this verse. We'll see if you know it. If you recognize it, who knows? Money is the root of evil. No, that's not the verse. That's not the verse. The love of money is the root of evil. No, that's not it either. Some Bibles say, for the love of money is the root of all evil. Some say, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Why is it? Okay. Depending, that's a big thing. The love of money is the root of all evil. Is much different than the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Both of those are different than money is the root of all evil or all kinds of evil. And that's all different than for the love of money is the root of all evil, all kinds of evil. If you get the proof text wrong, one person says it one way, another person says it another way, someone else says, no, that's not how it really is. Who knows? Who knows what it is now? Hey, let's go look at it in some parallel translations. See if we can put it back in context. Then maybe we can decide what the best possible translation is. Okay, share screen. There we go. Open the Firefox. Control plus, make it bigger. The best one for parallel chapters. 1 Timothy 6. Right there. 1 Timothy 6. Serving with honor gives you some Bible verses. This is probably the Berean Study Bible. It is. Reject false doctrines. That's good. Godliness with contentment. Okay. Fight the good fight. Okay. A charge to the rich. Oh, I bet that's where love of money is. A charge to the rich. Instruct those who are rich in the present age not to be conceited, not put their hope in uncertain wealth, but in God, who richly provide all things for us to enjoy. Instruct them to do good, to be rich in good works, and to be generous and ready to share, treasuring up for themselves a firm foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is true of life. Guard the faith. Wait. There's another problem with proof texts. Oh, let's go find it. It must be in this. It's not. How do we know where it really is? Let's look a little more. Fight the good fight. Godliness with contentment. Yeah, I'm going to just Control F. Rich. Those who want to be rich. However, okay. Number 1 of many. 1 of 5. Okay. Charge to the rich. That's where I was just at. Oh, wait. Not rich. I'm silly. Money. Match 1 of 1 right there for the love of money. Okay. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. By craving it, some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. Look at that. Only half a verse yet again. It's okay. It's still a sentence. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Okay, it's still good. Some verses, are some sentences are multiple verses. You have one sentence that's like verse 7, 8, 9. So it's okay, a part of a verse, a part of a sentence. Okay, let's look at this parallel chapter. Okay. We'll start with the ESV right here. Let all who are under a yoke as bondservants. Wait, that's too early. Instructions to servants. Okay. Reject false doctrines. Okay. Content and godliness. It was chapter 10, verse 10, right? Yep. Okay. Let's start where they break it up. But godliness with contentment is great gain. The but shows us that there was something before it. Here, let's look at this. If anyone teaches a different, if they reject false doctrine, if anyone teaches a different doctrine, does not agree with the sound words of our Lord Jesus Christ and the teaching that accords with the godliness, he is puffed up with conceit and understands nothing. He has an unhealthy craving for controversy and for quarrels about words, which produce envy, dissension, slander, evil suspicions, and constant friction among people who are depraved in mind and deprived of the truth, imagining that godliness is a means of gain. Okay, I read that fast. We're just trying to get to our proof, our out of context verse right here. Constant among people who are deprived of mind and deprived of the truth, imagining godliness. Okay, he is puffed up with conceit. If anyone teaches a doctrine that does not agree with the sound words of our Lord Jesus Christ and the teaching that accords with godliness, if someone teaches something different, if anyone teaches something that doesn't agree with Jesus, if they teach something that's not godly, the person is puffed up with conceit and understands nothing. Holy moly. That person has an unhealthy craving for controversy and for quarrels about words. Okay, so if you're not agreeing with with the good stuff, sound doctrine, what Jesus taught, godliness, you're puffed up. You understand nothing. You have an unhealthy craving for controversy, quarrels about words. That's weird, isn't it? Which produce envy, dissension, slander, evil suspicions, and constant friction among people who are deprived in mind and deprived of the truth. Constant friction among people who are depraved in mind and deprived of the truth. This one person, someone who teaches a different doctrine, who is therefore puffed up, doesn't understand anything, having an unhealthy craving, having quarrels with words, producing envy, dissension, slander, suspicions. They also produce constant friction among people who are depraved in mind and deprived of the truth. So in other words, an evil person produces friction amongst other evil people. If you're a good person, you're loving and holy, and you hear this teaching, okay, you'll probably be like, hey, dude, chill out. Hey, dude, you need to stop. You might be loving and try to bring him in, you're going to be loving towards him. But constant friction will happen amongst people who are depraved in mind and deprived of the truth. You don't want these teachers. They imagine that godliness is a means of great gain. These teachers, imagining that godliness is a means of great gain. They produce all this stuff, including friction amongst other people depraved in mind and deprived of the truth. They're imagining that godliness is a means of gain. Why would you think godliness is a means of gain? What kind of gain? Is it like true godliness? Maybe it's fake godliness. Maybe the people who are depraved in mind and deprived of the truth, they're the ones imagining that godliness is a means of gain. It's like, BJ, no, we know it makes sense the other way. Either way, this crazy evil person who's teaching, or they're at least teaching wrong doctrine. We know that okay, we know they're not agreeing with Jesus. They're not teaching according to godliness. We know they're puffed up with conceit. They don't understand anything. Nothing could be hyperbole. It could be rhetorical flair. What does that mean? You speak using big words in order to get your point across, right? You don't understand anything. Literally anything. They had to understand the words you said. or else you wouldn't tell him anything. So, could be hyperbole. Let's look over here. If anyone teaches at the NIV, if anyone teaching otherwise does not agree to the sound of instruction of our Lord Jesus Christ and godly teaching, okay, they're conceited and understand nothing. NASB understands nothing. Man, knowing nothing. Conceited, understanding nothing. Okay, Could still be hyperbole, but all of them seem to say understands nothing. That's crazy. NIV, they have an unhealthy interest in controversies and quarrels about words that result in envy. They have an unhealthy interest in this stuff. And these things result in envy, strife, malicious talk, evil suspicion. Either the person or the things the person is teaching, the interest that the person has, results in these. Either way, it's the person. The person is causing all this. Whether the person has an unhealthy interest in controversies and stuff. I'm sorry. Whether the person is causing them is themselves or is causing envy, strife, malicious talk, constant friction between people of corrupt minds. Whether the person themselves is causing that or what they are teaching is causing that, it's still the person. The person's like, hey, I just taught. If y'all want to take my stuff and go use it for evil, that's on you. It says here, if anyone teaches whatever, they are conceited to understand nothing. They have an unhealthy, they're still at the root of it. It's still the root, they're still the root of it. Man, this is harsh, Constant friction between people, the people who have been robbed of the truth and who think godliness is a means of financial gain. So these people who they're creating friction between might think godliness is a means of great gain. They might be robbed of the truth. Either way, this one person is causing it. But godliness with contention is great gain. Okay, so he's kind of switching here. He's saying, don't listen to those people because it's really bad. They think godliness is a means of financial gain. Then maybe that sparks something in his mind, because why would godliness with contention is great gain? Why would that suddenly follow? Follows from this, right? Paul's kind of changing his thought. Paul's the guy who wrote this letter. Kind of changing his thought. For we brought nothing into the world. We can take nothing out of it. Okay. He was talking about financial gain here. Let's go look at the Holman Christian Standard. A way to material gain. Okay. So it's gain, a means of gain. These other ones, means of gain. Okay. So you're gaining something, material gain, financial gain. Okay. They're kind of the NIV, Holman Christian Standard Bible, kind of helping us out, telling us what kind of gain. But godliness with contentment is great gain. But financial gain, great gain. It doesn't tell us financial right here. It doesn't say, but godliness with contentment is financial. No, it's great gain. Being content in your godliness is a great gain, not financial. It itself is a great gain. Why? We didn't bring anything in the world. We can't take anything out of it. You didn't show up with money. You didn't show up with wealth and riches. And when you leave, you're dead. That's it. You're going to heaven, where riches don't matter. And if you don't go to heaven, if you are not in a relationship with God, how are your riches going to help you then? But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. Okay. He's saying, look, guys, if we have food and clothing, we'll be content. So he's kind of changing, he ended up talking about the evil people teaching wrong things, causing evil stuff, says that God means a great gain. And hey, godliness and contentment is great gain. We didn't bring anything in the world. We can't take anything out. But if we have food and clothing, we'll be content with that. Those who want to get rich, so we can tell, okay, money, evil, the root of evil. We can tell that he's definitely talking about money here. He's talking about a specific person. He's definitely talking about money. So we know we got that much. I mean, if suddenly between verse 9 and 10, which there's a period, so between this sentence, yeah, that's all one sentence. Yeah. Between this sentence and our proof text sentence, if the subject is suddenly changed, it's not telling us that. See up here, gives us a heading. That's not in the Bible itself, but it's giving us a heading here to help us. Down here, they give us a heading to help us. No heading. If he suddenly, I'm guessing he's not going to change subjects. 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and go for the gusto. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Let's look at the ESV, a little more literal, a little more word for word. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Okay, now this is the most word for word. The NASB, the most word for word. They try to follow exactly the wording. Okay. For the love of money is a root of all sorts of evil. Okay. Where do we get the root of all? Again, good old King James. Again. The root of all kinds of evil. Again, is the root of all evil. It's the King James. The older translation, which, they were smart people back then, but they didn't have all the scholarship we have today. They had less to work with. In, 1600s was when the King James was. That's like 400 years ago, 1700, 1800, 1900, 20, 2000 years. Yeah, 400 years ago. We've come a long way since then with being able to translate the Bible with more materials. Now we have all sorts of evil. I bet that's correct. Let's go back to the NIV. For the love of money is a root. Wow. What? The root. See what our proof text gets? See where our out of context verses get us? The love of money is not the root of all kinds of, it's a root of all kinds, sorts of evil. In fact, up here where we started, if anyone advocates a different doctrine, he's conceited, understands nothing, has a morbid interest in quarrel, that's an evil. Or has envy, strife, abuse, those are evils. So hey, the different doctrine does not agree with sound words, does not agree with the teachings of Jesus Christ, doesn't with doctrine conforming to godliness. If they do not agree with all that, that's the root of evil down here. So there's another thing that's the root of evil. All sorts of stuff is a root of evil. Okay. So we should be content. Okay. 1 second. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves in many griefs. They're eager for money, love of money, godliness with contentment. And here, godliness is a means to financial gain. Godliness with contentment. Okay. Is it saying money is bad? Is it saying money is evil? No. Eager for money, the love of money, godliness without contentment, but instead for a means of financial gain. But you, O man of God, flee from all this. Pursue righteousness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. He doesn't say flee from money. Flee from the love of money. Flee from wandered from the faith and pierced himself in many griefs. Flee from the griefs. Flee from a trap into many and harmful desires, plunging people. Flee from all that, not money. Flee from the love of money. Faith, love, endurance. Fight the good fight of the faith. Take hold of the eternal life which you were called into, which isn't bought with money. Okay. So what can we say we've learned here? We could go a lot longer. You're like, BJ, you didn't get all the context. Hey, let's go read the entire book for a context. We'll do that. But here, I'm just trying to show you, out of context, no good. We just looked at a little bit of the context. Much better. And It's teaching you some basic Bible studies we go through these. So guys, I hope this was helpful. I'm going to pray for us real quick. Lord God, wonderful, amazing, and awesome, more precious than diamonds, more costly than gold and silver. Let me desire you and let me not desire money. Let me be content in godliness and not use godliness for gain. Let me use godliness for financial gain. Let me use godliness for the right kind of gain, let me use godliness for the love of others. Let me use godliness to make myself a more loving person. Let me use godliness to help other people. Stuff like that, Lord. Let me use godliness to preach the gospel to the lost and the dying and the needy, which would be myself, dying and needy. Your son Jesus came down for us, loved us, died, and rose again. You rose him. You set him up there. Thank you, God. Thank you. Amen. Hey, guys. See y'all in another video.